Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022 here at Giga Texas. And as always, there's a lot going on, but particularly today, there is an immense amount of new developments all over the site, from the far south end to the far north. And I'll cover most of those in the video. For the intro, there's a few things I want to cover. First, yesterday, one of my viewers, Eric, let me know that a bridge crane was headed south on I-35 from Waco to Giga Texas. And he could tell because it was brightly painted red and it had Tesla on it. So I asked Jeff Roberts, who was flying yesterday, to see if he could capture some images. And as you can see here, he in fact did capture some of those images when it arrived. Now I want to talk a little bit about what these are for. These are a dual bridge crane. They're very large, and they will be going to the southeast section in that stamping extension, or otherwise known as stamping 2 area of the factory that we've been trying to look inside and see what they've been constructing. Now this is going to be where the AIDA stamping press is mounted and assembled onto the underground isolation foundation that they're finishing up in there. And the fact that the bridge crane is arriving, I take as an extremely good sign, because they're going to need this bridge crane to do the assembly of all of the materials and components that are on just the east side of the stamping machine structure that we've been watching for a little while. Now I also want to make sure that you understand that the AIDA stamping press is very different and not even related at all to the IDRA casting machine press that'll be in the northeast corner of the building. Now I know some people have gotten confused by that, but I hope that this little discussion and overview is helpful. The other things I want to talk about briefly is there's at least 5 new areas around the site with new construction. A couple of these are this one at the extreme far north in this large rectangular field. This is being core drilled for possibly some sort of construction in the future. This is very new. Also at the extreme north in the Lone Tree field, where the equipment rental lot is located, on the extreme north end, you can see that they're starting to stockpile more steel components up here. That is absolutely amazing. And the final area I want to show you is right here. This is right next to the Martin Marietta batch plant, and it's also right next to the battery cathode plant, where they're doing geopier and exterior wall and a lot of other construction. This new area, as you can see, is being cleared out, possibly for some future construction. And I just noticed this today, so it's a new development. Anyway, a lot more to see in the video. It has got a ton of information. So I hope that you enjoy the video, the information, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, you can see the lingering effects of the fog that came through the area. Fortunately, it is now clearing, and I delayed my flight just a little bit longer than normal so I could get you some better views. Now at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's additional trenching that is underway right now. This is to extend more of that underground conduit, and this goes from the east side near where the horizontal drilling for the pipe is, all the way along this south end. And it's very possible that this underground conduit will replace those short power lines and power poles that you see in the screen right now. So I'll continue to monitor this development. As we get over towards the southeast side, we see more of the conduit and also some of those concrete vaults sort of at the bottom center of the screen. And you can see how this is all being tied into some of those power lines as well. So it'll be nice to see if they in fact do remove all of those short power lines. The tall ones are going to remain, unfortunately. Now we see the horizontal drilling operation, and this is a nice close-in view of some of the activity that is going on. Some excavation work, some trench boxes, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, so that it won't collapse in on the workers. You can see what looks like some of the black HDPE pipe going off onto this large trench towards the west. And also you can see some other activity with trenching and preparing for conduit and of the water pipes to extend from this particular area. As we continue farther to the north, what you see on the screen now with all the blue and the brown and the blue-topped crates, that's the AIDA stamping press components that are awaiting assembly inside Stamping 2, and that is where the very large bridge crane we talked about in the intro was delivered yesterday. Here you see work going on with loading up to the steel loading dock with some materials, and also that new cut-in door just north of that loading dock. This is a good view of the material staging and also parking lot and how it continues to transform in this part of the construction site. And also this is that dirt repository right next to the outfall channel that you can see snaking off to the left. And they use this dirt to store until it's needed for some of the other construction sites. As we approach this smaller parking lot, the big thing you'll notice is that all of the cars have been removed that were contractors or employees, and it looks like they're starting to stockpile the Model 3s here. This may be another place where they use to store the new vehicles since the south end is getting so much construction, and we'll see that in a little bit. This is the new car staging and transportation lot as well, and it's very busy, as you can see, with trucks arriving to pick up the vehicles. Many of the vehicles have already been transported off-site, and it'll be interesting to see how this site here continues to develop and more Model Ys are brought over here for that staging and pickup. As we approach back towards the east side of the factory, this is a very good shot of these loading docks with the concrete removed, some of the revised plumbing that's going on, and just how this is transforming. You can also see the asphalt ramps that have been put on that north side. And you can see also here two other locations that have had concrete removed. They're working on some of the plumbing in this area, and then they will reestablish these concrete aprons to allow these new cargo and receiving doors to be operational. On the roof here you can see all of the solar panels in those rectangular crates being put up here waiting for assembly at some point in the future. Also you can see the 8 HVAC ducts now installed, and this area continues to transform. It looks like the ones on the left are nearly able to have the final weatherproof sealant put on, and this larger opening, and this is a good view to look down inside, will still need to have some of the roof decking insulation and more of the weatherproof membrane reinstalled once they are completed with the HVAC enclosures installation. But I hope you like this very close-in view of how these ducts and this construction site appears. We're going to move down towards the gap between the L and the A of Tesla, where crews are very busy installing more of the Unirack mounts in preparation of continuing to put more solar panels here to fill in this area between these two letters. And you can see here how the work is progressing today. Quite a few workers busy in this particular section. As we proceed south over the edge of the building, this gives you a really good view of the activity with the concrete demolition, saw cutting, and removal. All of the Model Ys and the two cranes here. The large crane is being fitted with a drill device, and they can use this to start doing drilling bores for piers, and that would suggest that they are preparing for possibly a structure of some sort that will require columns, and this is most likely related to all of the steel materials that we see nearby. And we'll get down a little bit lower and take a look at all of these materials. You can also see here that the blue water pipe is now being extended around the cyber pond, and it will continue farther to the south along the flight path that we're on. Here is where some of the steel and materials are being stockpiled, And this is a good closer view of where the crews are excavating the conduit trench and where they're installing this conduit. Again, this would be most likely to replace these short power lines and power poles that you see right under the drone. And I'm kind of looking forward to that, honestly. Onto the right-hand side of the screen, you see many more of the solar panels waiting to be moved up to the top of the roof. And then here is more steel components on the left, more of the trenching conduit and the concrete vaults here on the center and the right-hand side of the screen. And you can see another view of that horizontal drilling operation that's going on in the distance. As I turn the drone towards the north, this gives you a really good view of the steel materials being stored on the right-hand side, some of the concrete removal just going underneath the drone, and here where they're filling in the trenches that they were installing some of that blue water pipe. And you can see how this area, it looks like the construction is nearly completed, certainly with the installation of the pipes, and now they're filling this in to prepare for the next phase of construction. So I'm going to turn the drone back towards the west so you can get a good view of how this south end concrete lot looks today and how much of the concrete has been removed. Some of the concrete in the rubble that you see, some people have mentioned that they think that they are breaking up that concrete because it's where some of the drain vents or drainage ducts are in the ground. The rest of it's being saw cut, and you can see the square sections being put up onto these yard trucks and then hauled away to at least 4 different sites around the construction area where they're being stockpiled. You can see how much more of this center section has been saw cut. The road on the south end at the bottom of the screen is being removed, and just how much the Model Ys are taking up what little space is left. And that's why they need to use that east smaller parking lot so they can relocate all of the vehicles. This is a good view at a lower level of the cranes and the drilling apparatus that they are setting up. You can see the crews up on that man lift installing some of the various parts and pieces necessary so that this drill can be operational. On the left-hand side of the screen, going underneath the drone, you can see more Model Ys are being temporarily stored here in this overflow lot as well. So let's proceed up the west side of General Assembly towards the north and take a look at what's going on near the main entrance. As we approach the main entrance, you can see the Model Y with the horns on the hood. Again, this is the Model Y that was used at the Cyber Rodeo video jumping over a ravine, and it still seems to be stored here on the outside. It's been out here for a couple of days. This view here gives you a really good idea of how the landscaping and this sort of small cyber wall appears today. And you can see there's more of the trees and other plants waiting for future installation for landscaping around this particular area. Also, you can see a large section of the berm has been resprayed with the grass seed. That's that green color that you see. Most likely this is both for aesthetic reasons, but also to help with erosion control as well. So since we're up near the northwest corner of the building, I think we're going to turn the drone towards the west and prepare to resume the video on the other side of the highway and take a look at some developments over there. As you can see, we're over the west side of the highway. This is that new material staging location. You can see many of the plants and the purple irrigation pipes right at the bottom of the screen. Some other components, that trailer with the silver materials, those are sort of races where they will install on the roof and put a lot of the wiring within the building, and these are used extensively within Giga Texas. We can also see some trailers and a lot of materials on the right side here are going to be right at the middle of the screen. You can see more of those silver races to hold the wires, some racking and mounting systems here, some interesting tanks, and also more silver wrap materials, the red scaffolding that's used inside the building, and just a lot of different materials being staged and stored in this new storage location. So we're going to proceed a little bit farther to the north to take a look at some of the changes in this material staging location. One, you can see these white painted beams that have been removed from General Assembly. Also, you can see some of the concrete vaults and also some concrete sections from the south end. There's some Evapco HVAC components and some old water wall panels here. And also you can see some very interesting deliveries, some in trailer trucks, and then others you can see quite a bit of more of these gray steel parts. And I will bring the drone back a little bit so you can see just how much steel is growing here. Again, the brown steel that you see on the left-hand side of the screen has been here for quite some time. I'm not sure what its intended purposes will be, but all the rest of this steel is the new gray, and this is being used in multiple different construction sites around Giga Texas, and this is definitely a growing material staging location. So let's proceed up towards the main factory again, and since it's later in the day, I'm going to be able to show you a nice view from a little bit higher altitude of the factory, the north end where the battery cathode plant is, the electrical switch yard to the left, and also the east parking lot and the warehouse on wheels yard. So let's pick up the video again on the other side of the highway. And as we approach the northwest corner, you can see how the ducting and the cooling enclosures appear today. It does look like there has been some changes, specifically this duct right in front of the drone, and I'll kind of look down in. It looks like they are fitting this section out and preparing to complete adding these ducts that you see with the rest of them. And also it looks like two more of the enclosures still remain to be assembled. You'll notice that construction is extending here along the sidewalk on the left-hand side of the screen. That's for plumbing, and it will continue the work that they're doing right here at the center part, where you can see that the plumbing is done here, the curbs and the sidewalks are being reinstalled. So that work is continuing across the space between the parking lot and the road. Here's more equipment that has been delivered recently, and you can see a crane picking up even more for the second floor of the paint shop, and more of the modular components and quite a bit of other equipment that have been delivered as well. Here you see some white painted, it looks like possibly some racks that have just been delivered, and we can also see other materials and components arriving as well. We also see in this section of the casting machine structure some other white, looks like maybe columns, and this may be for a mezzanine, possibly even bridge crane rails there for the casting machine structure. So I'm going to give you a different angle view of all of the various castings that have been recently produced and are being stored on the east side of the casting machine structure, just on the outside of the ground floor. Some of them are put into those racks, and some of them are just kept on the ground. And the pace of producing these castings has definitely picked up, especially from what you have seen in the last couple of videos. So this is yet another indication and a consequence of a ramping production here at Giga Texas. So let's proceed up towards the electrical switch yard and see what is going on up here today. The good thing is it's now dry, and much of the water that was ponding on the construction site has been removed or dried up, and you can see that crews are extremely busy today, particularly here on the south end with these two large square foundations that will be where the two large transformers are installed. And you can see that the one on the left has had some of the concrete already poured, and the one on the right is actively getting quite a bit of rebar installed. And these will form the strong and sturdy base for two large transformers that will be part of the electrical substation. And the one on the left gives you a really good idea of how it will eventually look, the one on the right. So again, quite a bit of activity going on here today, and looks like maybe another day or two, they'll be able to have this rebar done, and then they can get concrete poured as well. You can see the drill is in action today. These are drilling bores about 60 feet down, approximately 20 meters or so, and then they'll put rebar cages in, some mounts, and then they'll put concrete. And this will be for the footings that you see, similar ones, the square ones just to the north here. And this will be where a lot of the steel is assembled, very much like you see right here. Now, some of the steel already has insulators on the top, and you can see here a bus bar is being installed by this crane, and also some materials for more of the A-frames. Eventually there will be 7 A-frames per the site plan drawing that we've discussed previously. On the north end, all of the sections of the steel power poles still remain waiting for installation or an assembly. So this is a good view of the overall look of the site today. And because the sun is in a different angle than when I normally fly earlier in the morning, I'm going to continue the flight around to the west side, looking back towards the east, to give you a good idea of where this is located in relation to the battery cathode plant off into the distance. As we proceed towards the east, you'll see there's a new construction site right in the middle of the screen. We'll come back for a closer view of that. But I want to give you a good look at the battery cathode plant today, see how it appears, and also the progress that is going on the west side with the geopier. Now again, geopiers are a way of installing piers into the ground about 40 to 60 feet or about 15 to 20 meters into the ground. What they do is they drill the holes, as you can see with the smaller geopier equipment, and then the taller one will have the little bobcat pick up all of the gravel, put it into the bore, and then that large and very tall geopier will compound it and crush it into the actual pier. So the term geo means that it uses geological items such as that gravel to make the actual piers. We also see here this large concrete apron has now been poured with concrete, and just recently, and you can see that the crews are still actively smoothing out the concrete, and they have that riding device to help further smooth out this entire apron. So another major milestone achieved on this section. And soon we'll probably find out whether or not there's going to be tanks or a structure built here. As we move to the north, we can see the work inside the building continues. More of the concrete wall panels are arriving, and you'll see this one truck on the left kind of do a U-turn and come back for the crane to pick it up. And you can see the crane already has one ready for installation. More of the concrete vaults on the ground as well. So I'm going to proceed to the north and give you a view of not only this clearing and all of the activity that's going on with the earthwork and dirt removal and transport around the site, but you also get a good view here of this section that has had grass seed installed, and that's mostly for erosion control. Also, with the arrow way in the north, you can see that that test drill rig, and they do that to test the soil. So that may be indicating that there might be some construction in the future. Also here you can see where a lot of steel components, particularly beams, are being stored at the very far north of this field, which is another new development. What we're seeing here is the rental equipment yard. Also that sort of that rounded tent is where they have their maintenance and repair facility. And this is a good view of all of the sections from the south end that have been cut and moved up here for temporary storage. So let's proceed back towards the battery cathode plant and take a look at what the activities are going on the east side today. The wall panel installation on the east side is going very quickly, and it just has some of the sections open so they can load equipment in more easily without the wall panels. We can also see this steel structure continues to get a lot of work, and it looks like crews are doing some preparation work on the inside where that reinforced section is. I'm still not sure if this is a control room or some other purpose for this structure. You can see the blue water pipe installation on the left-hand side of the screen, more wall panels where these deep foundations are, and it looks like some pretty large equipment, and the one forklift just took it off the truck, is arriving here. It looks like there's about 7 of these. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but looks like some equipment that'll be necessary for the operation of this plant. Also see some new work on the roof as well. So I'm going to pull back and give you a better view of the work on the east side with that trench and the blue water pipe and some of the materials as well, and just overall how the structure is appearing with a majority of the concrete wall panels now installed. Now I mentioned there's this new clearing that is being prepared, and it's just to the south of the Martin Marietta plant and just to the east of where the geopier work is going on. And you can see there's quite a bit of activity going on here to level and prepare this particular site. Now this is a brand new development. They were working on this general area about I don't know, 18 months ago or so, but not a lot of work has happened since. But now it looks like, for whatever reason, they've decided to resume work here. And it'll be interesting to see what this develops into. Is this a new building? Is it a new construction site? Is it a new staging location? Or maybe a parking lot? Let me know what you think in the comments. So as we proceed towards the south along the warehouse on wheels, you can see how the north end has been reconfigured as a very large parking lot, and also just generally how the warehouse on wheels and all of the trailers appear today. Also, as we continue towards the south, on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see yet another clearing, and this is being prepared right next to this workshop and the materials that are being stored and worked on here. You'll notice many of them are painted white, and there's been some suggestion that they're doing this because the white sections that are going to be used will be used inside the factory in a portion that's already been somewhat finished out, and this will allow them to install the steel without having a lot of overspray inside the factory. But this, combined with that clearing area right next to it, is another interesting development to keep watching. So I'll go ahead and climb up a little bit higher to give you a good view from the east, looking to the west towards the main factory and over the warehouse on wheels and the east parking lot. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you appreciate all the information and all of the views in the video today. Have a great day, and thank you again for your support.